Hello. Hello, hello. Of course, I'm fiddling with the computer as usual. Um, kind of waiting on someone to get on here. Guess I can go ahead and get started on this family tree. Okay. Now, first of all, the reason I'm doing this, number one, it's interesting to me. The Greek pantheon is one of the most used um, pantheons in witchcraft. By far, not the only one, just one of the most used. Um, there are different versions of this. Hi, Shelly. How are you, dear? You doing good tonight? Haven't got to see you or talk to you in a while. There's several different, like if you, I'm good. I'm really good. Had a good day, and um, I'll tell you that this other witch and I, her name's Athena. We started a Facebook group called Witches United. If you want to join, just look it up. And I don't have you as a friend on my Facebook, or I would have sent you an invite, but I didn't know how else to do it. So, just click join, and then it'll send it directly to me or Athena, and we'll accept it. There's a lot of interesting. This is more of the talk. I'm kind of going to combine this channel with that in case anybody has any questions or whatever. But the Facebook group is mainly, for discussion, and it has a lot of books for references that you can read. Like I said, I don't know how far you are in your path. I think you told me that you're pretty seasoned, right? I mean, you're not a novice. You haven't just started, but you might learn something. Hi, Angie. Brat left me. Oh, well, we all got to do what we got to do, huh? But yeah, Shelly, if you want to look that up and send over a request to join, I'll get you in there, okay? How you been, Angie? I see your post. You just do that to make me jealous. I'm stuck. I are stuck. Anyway, y'all didn't hear it. Well, Shelly might have, but I'm going to do the Greek pantheon, a rundown of it. Not so much in depth, but I was saying that a lot, most of the witches, the Greek pantheon is one of the most ones used. And I just love mythology. I think it's interesting, and it wouldn't hurt anyone, to know this information. So, because a lot of times you can search and search and search, and you don't know who begat who and whatever. But anyway, there are three different men that have, you've read about what is that, the Odyssey, the what do you call it, uh, Homer's Odyssey. You've got Ovid, um, Hesiod. They all have a different what do you call it, idea of who begat who. But this is one I'm the most familiar with, and a lot of people will just start with Zeus. My internet is dragging. I'm always with you. Aw, you're so sweet. Are you sure it's your internet, not me, Shelly? Am I doing okay with yours? Sometimes mine will drag. Okay, good. Okay, so a lot of people will just start at Zeus, but there was a whole other tier, in fact, lots of them before Zeus. Um, the very first beings or gods and goddess, I guess you could call them, is Kronos. Now, there's two Cronoses in the Greek pantheon. There's one that's Chronos, and then there's a Cronus. Okay, the one with the H, and some people spell it with a K. See, it's just little bitty stuff like this that is ridiculous, but that's how you're going to see it sometimes. Um, the one with the C, Kronos, is what they consider Father Time. Okay, he's always been there. And then his bride, or counterpart, was Ananke. It's Ananke, and she is Destiny. Okay, they had Chaos, which that was their only offspring. And this is where it gets a little bit confusing. Chaos evidently did not have a partner. Evidently, he said, or what did you miss, Angie? What part did you, about the Pantheon? Hello, Missy? Well, while I'm waiting on her to comment, he evidently did not have anything that he procreated with, or anyone. And I guess you could just put it like he just spit them out. You had Nyx, which is the night. Then Gaia, Taurus, and Erebus. So he had 1, 2, 3, 4 children without anyone's help. And you're going to find this a lot. Little. I don't know if something just gets left out of the pantheon, or how it happened, but there's nothing saying who their mother or father was. Maybe Chaos, was all of them, was male, female. Oh, tell Jake to quit it. We're busy. Oh, no. Tell him I said hello. So anyway, and also through the Greek pantheon, of course, brothers married sisters. That's just the way it was. Erebus and Nyx had Aether, which is the light, and Hemera, which is the day. Nyx was also the mother of Thanatos, which is the god of death. A lot of people, think the Grim Reaper is the god of death and blah, blah. Well, he's really not. Thanatos is the actual god of death. The Grim Reaper is just one he sends to come get you. Nyx also gave birth to Hypnos, which is the sleep god, Morose, which is the doom god, and Eris, not Ares, but Eris, the goddess of strife. Let me go on down here. I just kind of jotted these down so I wouldn't forget stuff. Okay. Now that's all, that's Nyx. Now Gaia is Nyx's sister. Okay. So Gaia, oh, and I also forgot Uranus. They had Uranus up here too. Chaos had Uranus. So Gaia, no, that's not true. Gaia was there and she gave birth to Uranus, which is the planet. Aurea, Ourea, which are the mountains. And out of the mountains came Nisan, which is the islands. Then you have Pontus, that was the god of the sea. Now these are Gaia and Uranus's children. Gaia gave birth to Uranus, but she mated with him also. So you've got all these. Now those are the very first primordial gods. So of the Greek pantheon. So I guess you could say that Gaia and Uranus were the first king and queen in Greek mythology. So sorry, it's Dan's lunchtime. He's texting me. I forgot. I always do things at the wrong time. Something about Molly. Oh, I think I just had. I seen that you put stuff on Facebook, your pretty pictures and stuff, and I think you just do it to make me jealous. But I was just messing with you. I know you got to do what you got to do. Okay, so we get all down through this. Okay, now here comes the Chronos without the C. Just remember or without the H. One has an H, which is Father Time, and the other one doesn't, which is Zeus's father. Okay. So that Chronos, let me see here. Chronos. That Chronos married Rhea. Story goes down to Zeus. Are y'all still there? Because it just came on and said I had a bad connection, that they were reloading me. Y'all still there? Okay. I hate just going on talking to myself for hours and then go back and look at my video and it's nothing or it's all draggy or whatever. But so anyway, so Kronos and Rhea also were brother and sister. Okay. You'll find that a lot. Now there's this thing I'm not going to get into the story right now because right now I'm just trying to get through the pantheon, the first part of the pantheon. These were titans, okay? Until we get to Zeus and they have their war, they're titans. So Kronos and Rhea, which Kronos and his father Uranus they, it started this thing that passed down through the generations of the sons killing their fathers. Okay. Um, in fact, Kronos castrated his father. And when his testicles and all that fell down into the ocean, they say that's where all the sea nymphs um, and stuff like that came up, were born into the ocean from his testicles. Um, so anyway, Rhea and Kronos marry, and they have, which will be the Olympians, the Olympian gods, Zeus. I wanted to make sure I have them down here. Okay. Okay. Of course, you had Zeus, which we all know took the place of um, he is the god of gods. Hades, which we all know about him. Poseidon, we know about him. We know that Hera is the queen of the gods. Hestia, which is the goddess of the hearth, which nobody ever hardly talks about. She's very rarely mentioned. She was not worshipped in the Greek pantheon. Really, everybody, they may have called on her to um, watch over the hearth. She was the goddess of the hearth, of the home fires. But she preferred to be quiet. She didn't want a whole lot of attention. Then you, of course, now these are the 12 Olympian gods that were on Mount Olympus. Now the children that Rhea and Kronos had was Zeus, Hades, Hera, Poseidon, and Demeter. Okay, so those were the 5 main Olympic gods that Rhea gave birth to. And then there's a story how Kronos was afraid his son was going to grow up and kill him like he did his father, so he ate all his children when they were born. Well, Zeus was the youngest, was the last one born, and Rhea, instead of giving him to Kronos to eat, she gave him a rock to swallow instead, thinking that that was the child. And then she took Zeus, some of the sprites and nymphs over in, he was raised on the island of Crete in Greece. Then when he grew up, he went back and gave his father some poison, and which made him throw up his children, and it killed him. Well, it didn't kill him. It depends on what version you read up on. But anyway, Zeus rescued his brothers and sisters. Then they had the war against the Titans, and of course they won. Now I'm not going to go into all this, but just to touch on it, the Titans that Zeus didn't chain up in Tartarus, which Tartarus you can say was the first hell, lower than Hades. It's way down there. And Zeus war and took control of Olympus. He chained a bunch of the Titans down there in Tartarus. The ones that didn't want to serve him, that still wanted to rebel against him, which that is where Hecate comes in the picture, because Hecate was a Titan. Her parents were Perses and Asteria. which we're not going to go into that part yet. That's on the second row of Titans, second generation. I'm just getting down to Zeus on this one, and then we'll go back and we'll talk about the other stuff as we go. Or if you have questions, then I'll try to answer them. Now, there were other gods on Olympus. There were 12. You have, of course, everybody knows, and these gods and goddesses also have Roman names. They're the same entities. They just are called something different in the Roman culture. Like Hades is Pluto, Zeus is Jupiter, Poseidon is Neptune, Hera is Juno, Hephaestus, which I'll tell you about him in a minute, is Vesta, Hermes is Venus, Dionysus. No, I'm sorry, I went below. Hestia is Vesta, Aphrodite is Venus, Ares is Mars, Demeter is Ceres, Athena is Minerva, and Apollo doesn't have a Roman counterpart. I think his name is completely something different in Latin. But then you have Hephaestus, which is Vulcan, Hermes, which was Mercury, and then Dionysus, which doesn't have anything either. Now, Athena was, and there's different conflicting stories because Zeus evidently was a horn dog. He slept with all kinds of mortal women and goddesses and had this child and that child, which kept Hera pissed off all the time. So Athena Zeus had an affair and was afraid that the woman was going to have a child, blah blah blah. Well, Athena was born. She came out of the top of Zeus's head, fully formed, grown, in armor and everything. That's how Athena came about. Much like Dionysus, he was born a fully grown man and a full god, which that was never heard of. Usually, if a god procreates with a human, then you have demigods like Hercules, Achilles, Perseus, all kinds, of different. There's hundreds and hundreds of demigods. But Dionysus, which we all know is the god of wine, was fully fledged god. He had no, even though he had a mortal mother. Now Hephaestus, the story goes with Hephaestus, he is the son of, I guess, Hera tried to get back at Zeus for whatever, and she mated with something else, and to make Zeus jealous, and conceived Hephaestus, which, of course, when he was born, he was deformed, so she threw him off of Mount Olympus. And some people say that, because he's depicted with a limp, usually walks with a cane, like a little old man. Some people say that he was born that way and that's why she threw him. Some people say, that's a pretty long fall off Mount Olympus to hit, they say maybe that's when he was injured. But he was he was raised down with the mortals, even though he was a god. And then Zeus decided he needed him. He found out he was such a great blacksmith and stuff like that. So he brought him back up to Olympus if he would work for the gods. Just one second. Work for the gods. So they and in fact, he's the one that made Zeus's trident, Hades' bident, Zeus's lightning bolt. He made all the things that the gods wield and used, for power. He made a bunch of things for Athena when Athena was helping some of the gods, like Odysseus on his journeys, the Odyssey. Athena was helping him through a lot of that, and she would have Hephaestus make, shields or swords or, special things to help the humans that they needed. But those were and then, Hermes, of course, is the messenger of the gods. And also Hermes, it is said in some books, some people say that Hecate and Mercury or Hermes had an affair. They were in love, and that Mercury is her daughter's father. Hecate had one daughter. I want to say her name is Saphronilla. Don't quote me. I'll relook that up. It has saffron in it somewhere. I didn't go into that part yet because that's the Titan side and it's the second generation. So anyway, I'm trying to think. We got Poseidon. And another interesting fact, Poseidon created the horse, Angie. You'll love this. Poseidon created the horse to impress Demeter. He was so in love with her and wanted her so bad that he created the horse to impress her. So there's that. There's a little bit of trivia for you. Okay. And of course, Demeter, she had Apollo and Artemis, which we all know is the twins. Apollo is the sun god, and Artemis is the goddess of the hunt and the moon in Greek mythology. And in Roman, she is called Diana. Then you had Ares, which is the god of war, and then Aphrodite, which also had her son's name was Eros, which we consider Cupid. So there's a little bit of it. Now, the first generation Titans, now I've went down to the first level of the Olympians and their children. The first generation of Titans, there were also 12 of them. You had, and these are Kronos's and Rhea's brothers and sisters. You had Oceanus, which was each. If you'll notice, each generation has sea god, sun god or goddess, and they they just kind of change over. They take each other's place on down until you get down to Zeus, which evidently remained there and is still there to this day. But Oceanus was the god of the ocean. Tethys was the river goddess. Hyperion was the god of light. Thea was the goddess of aether. And then you have Cronus, which was the god of the harvest, plus the king of the Titans. Rhea, which was the goddess of fertility. Creus, which was the god of the constellations. Themis, she was the goddess of law and order. Iapetus was the god of mortal life. And Minimosine was the goddess of memory. Coeus or Paulus is the god of the polar axis. And then you have Phoebe, which was the moon goddess, the Titan moon goddess. And then there's a whole lot of other stuff. You've got Typhon. Okay, now here's where the other part goes. We're going down the other side of the Titan tree. You have Typhon. These are the first generation Titans. Okay, Typhon and Echidna, which were the parents of Tartarus. Okay, the first Hades. They were also the parents of all of your monsters. Okay. Actually, Gaia, where did I put that? Okay. Yeah. They were like, you know who Orthrus, Cerberus, which is the hound of hell, the Colchian dragon, the Chimera, the Hydra, the Sphinx, the Harpies, the Sirens, the Cilia, the Gorgons. Some say, the Graii witches, which are the witches that had the one eye and one tooth that you see in a lot of mythological stories. They shared one eye between them and a tooth. And then your second generation Titans, of course, was Atlas. We know that he holds up the world. He didn't do that until Zeus won the war, and that was the job he was offered to serve Zeus, to basically hold the world up and separate it from the lower earth, which would be, where the lower realm, which would be Tartarus at that time, and the heavens, Olympia. So Atlas held that to keep from being chained up for eternity. Then you got Prometheus, which is the god of foresight. He is the one that evidently created man. So see, all these gods were present until this first generation of Titans after Gaia, and it's kind of like the way the Bible says the earth was made without form. You go 6 days, and on the seventh day, he created man. Well, if you'll look at this a lot, it's about the same story. Because all the earth, the rivers are here, everything was ready before man was created, even in Greek mythology. And it was Prometheus that did this, that created the first man. Now, he did not create the first woman, and they don't say, like the Bible does, that woman was taken out. Woman was created separately by a whole other entity. Epimetheus, which was the god of hindsight. These are the second generation Titans still. And then you've got Pandora, which was the first woman. and then therefore you know the story about Pandora's box. But I'll kind of elaborate on that some. It's a fun story. Um, Now also Gaia and Uranus. This is how come Gaia sicked Kronos on Uranus. This is why she had him castrate him, because they gave birth to the Hecatonchires. Well, they were huge. They were giants. They were gaudy and ugly and clumsy. And Gaia, of course, are her children. She still loved them, but Uranus hated them. They were an embarrassment to him, and he threw them out. He said, y'all cannot stay here. You're gross. We don't have anything to do with you. He basically shunned them. Well, that pissed Gaia off. And then Gaia talks her son Kronos into killing him. That's how that came about. So I'm trying to look through here. I know I had to have written down who created the first woman. I do know that the first woman was created as a punishment, believe it or not. It was a war between Prometheus and Zeus, I believe, over a cow or a bull. No, it was a sheep. Here it is. War between Prometheus and Zeus about a sheep. So, where did I put that? And another interesting fact, you know how in our society we have the Iron Age, the Bronze Age, the medieval ages. Those eras that we call that. What's odd is in the Greeks did too. And you have to realize that back then, until actually the Vikings are the first ones that actually would sail across the oceans. So it wasn't like they could just get in a boat and go visit their neighboring country and say, "Hey, dudes, combine their theories together and create between them an origin of time, or how things came about." It's just really weird because they're separated by oceans. There wasn't no way to compare notes. To me, it's really interesting that mankind in and of itself felt the need to do this, and in every culture, it is so much the same. They're called something different. The stories may vary here and there a little bit, but basically, even in Christianity, the way things were created, everything is almost just the same. The Greeks, but you know how the Bible will say they had the Garden of Eden. Well, the Greeks had Atlantis. That's where Atlantis comes in the picture, and nobody can find it, just like nobody can find where the Garden of Eden was. That's mentioned in the Christian Bible. They were called the Gold Men, and it wasn't age; it was men. Poseidon destroyed it, and they say this: it went into the ocean, because they weren't obeying, and they were very much disrespecting the gods. Now, doesn't that sound like what the Christian God did to Adam and Eve? and then their family threw them out of the Garden of Eden because they uh, didn't obey God. They ate of the tree of life when after they were told not to. Um, so they get rid of that, and then they have what they call the silver man. And evidently these guys weren't very evolved. They were kind of dumb, they just kind of disappeared. I don't know if the gods uh, took them back off the earth, or if they just couldn't survive because they weren't smart enough. I don't know. It doesn't say, but they just kind of disappeared. That kind of reminds you of in our history nowadays, we say that, there was actually four different kinds of man, four different species. You had your, I can't even remember all of them now, and I'm not even going to try, but, a lot of them died out because they couldn't fend for themselves, and the race that could maintain and survive did. Um, it's just so amazing how these things are all so much alike. Okay, so evidently they just disappeared under the earth, and they didn't worship the gods at all. They didn't even acknowledge they existed. So I'm pretty sure the gods probably did something with them. Then you have the bronze man. Um, and it says that they exterminated themselves by constant warfare. Well, imagine that. And now, in our present age, the Greeks would consider us Iron Men. Um, and the reason that we're surviving is we have a well enough balance between how we're worshiping the gods and this and that and behaving. And yes, we have wars, but we haven't completely annihilated each other, not yet anyway. So we're being allowed to remain here. So that I just think that's so interesting. And I'm still looking for who. Look at all this crap I wrote, you guys. And it's funny when you're writing it, well, I can't. I'll get back on there. Y'all remind me. Say, all right, who created the first woman? Not the first man, the first woman, because the first I think Zeus created her to get back at, and then created, yes, he did. He created her and then gave her, it was Pandora, so he gave her that box, knowing there's a whole big story behind it. It was a box, and it had everything in the world bad in it. She was told not to open it. But it did have one thing in it that was good, and it was hope. So when she did open the box and let all that loose on humanity and onto the world, which is kind of like Eve eating that apple and evidently, giving all mankind and especially other women hell for eternity. So it's really interesting how this how it plays out, and it helps you to know that whenever you're choosing in this pantheon anyway, if you're gonna choose a deity to work with, it helps to know a little bit about them, or where it came from, and it's just something fun to learn. I love mythology. Everything is mythology. Our seasons, Demeter's daughter is Persephone, and we all know the story about Hades. Kidnapping her, and then that's the reasons we have the seasons, because when she goes down, she's not the one that's depressed. Demeter is, and Demeter is the goddess of the harvest. So when she's pissed off and don't want to do nothing, nothing grows. You see? So hi Jacob. I'm sorry. You'll have to go back and watch the rest of it, dear. Ain't no way. Did you hear any of it? I did something on Greek mythology this time. But anyway, do y'all have any questions? Or you just want to chat with me? It's fine either way. Whatever y'all want to do. Jacob, are you a witch? Oh, you're not. You do know that we're witches on here, right? I mean, I don't. You can say I don't care. That's whatever you want to do. I'm just letting you know that we're witches. But yeah, a lot of this is really interesting, and I love and it's I didn't even know about the first ones until several years ago. Chaos and Father Time and all that because I never got into that deep. I just pretty much learned, from Zeus on down because those are the ones we worship nowadays, or not worship, but that's my homework. I have it. You watch. It's written somewhere down in here. I just didn't want to sit here and stare at this paper for 30 minutes. I wanted to talk to y'all. If I don't know. First one, yeah, there's that. I cannot believe that I didn't have that written down. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I wrote it. I know I did. Zeus and Prometheus were always fighting too, man. They and it's over stupid shit. I don't know. Like one time Zeus took fire away from man, okay? Prometheus goes and steals it back from Zeus and gives it back to man. I believe that's why Zeus created the woman, was to really mess with Prometheus. Yeah. Created woman is a beautiful evil thing because of need for them. So I don't know, but that's the end of my scratch pads. Yeah, Hecate is pretty cool. I'm pretty sure she's the one driving me to do this stuff. Oh, and I didn't get the job at where I was applying for, Shelley. I made it to the very end though. Very few of them got as far as I did, but I did get a job today. It's not where I wanted, but it's okay. I was pretty disappointed at first because I needed the insurance so bad, and you know what's so weird? This job that called me today, last night I had a long talk with Hecate, and this job that called me today had called me a couple of weeks ago, and I turned them down. I said no, and then after I talked to Hecate last night, all of a sudden today my phone rings and it's them. I I remembered the number and everything, and then they were asking me if I, could come to work, and I was like, wow. I mean, I'd already told them no. I would assume that they'd taken me off of their deal, but and that's another thing. We can talk about shadow work um, for a minute. Um, a lot of the new witches may not know what that is. It's when I've mentioned it in some of my other videos, but yeah, that's what everybody thinks, Angie, that Zeus was the first one. So anyway, there was a whole crap load of them way before him. In fact, all of them were before him. There hadn't been any but his brothers and sisters and children since him. Yeah, 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 Shelley. Sometimes it really sucks to sit down and pick yourself apart and try to put yourself back together again. And I'm telling you, in whenever I had a really heart to heart chat with Hecate, probably, I don't know, a year and a half ago. And I'm telling you, she turned my shit upside down now. Woo! I went for a ride and I couldn't even, I can't hold down a job. I was quitting everything. I flipped out at one of them that was really good, and pretty much I got fired. Um, which is something I don't do. I had never been fired before. I just evidently, because I know I would have stayed there, and I knew when I blew up at this person that was not me. It was like I was inside of way down deep inside of my body, and something else was coming out. So I don't know if it was a little bit of her protecting me from, you know, disrespect and getting me out of there at the same time. Because there's some place I'm supposed to be or something I'm supposed to be doing, and I just ain't got there yet. But I was telling her last night, I was like, man, when are you gonna be done with me? Woo! I'm surprised I have any friends left at all. That's why a lot of times I'll just keep to myself here in the house. Um, and of course, me and my old man have been going up and down. I'm about to drive him crazy, and it's been a mess. I'm telling you. But when you sit down and you do that shadow work, and you figure out, I'll be flat out honest with y'all. Y'all are my buddies. Y'all love me. I love y'all. So I can tell you this. I used to didn't think that I could have a job that was menial. Um, it always had to be a very respected position for me, or something high up. Um, and it wasn't to make me look better to everybody else. It was because that's what I expected of me. I could never see me um, being a cashier or working in fast food, or even when I was a teenager, I didn't. And I gotta be honest with you, all those really high stress jobs, in healthcare and um, working in law enforcement, and it takes a toll on you. And I was just tired of it. I was tired of it all, but I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't have any more um, experience. I worked little second jobs, as a waitress or a bartender, whatever. But I had to finally say, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to, and who knows, I, knowing me, I'll become the damn manager of Walmart. or something like that, you know? You just never know what's going to happen. It seems like once you are so broke down that there's really no place to go but up. And after you've made yourself feel like shit for a while, and you're like, and then you relearn how to love yourself again. You start all over, you forgive yourself, and you continue on, you know? And that's okay, Shelley. That's what you're supposed to do. That's why I always say, you know, when you hear some of these witches say, well, these goddesses aren't coddling, and especially if you work with Hecate, and they she can be, you know. Now, like I said, I'm not going to say that she's going to be that way all the time, but she knows your heart. She knows when you really don't have any other choice but to cry. She knows we're human. Yeah, he is, isn't he? I'm about sick of his shit now, I'm telling you. He just thinks he can go out and stay out all night and do whatever he wants, come home when he wants, worrying the shit out of me, and that ain't gonna work. I'll just move up there with you. I can do YouTube from anywhere in the world. But yeah, after you do that, tear yourself down, and then you start on a better foundation. Um, it's funny how all of a sudden it just all that concern really just goes away. It's like, wow, all that shit I was talking about, you know, and worrying about, it isn't that important, you know. I created all that shit in my head and in my body, and it was poisoning me, you know. Even with this thing that's going on, you know, with me and my old man, it's like, well, you know, if he leaves, it's not going to kill me this time, you know. I'm not going to take it so damn hard, you know, like I've done before. Um, I know that I'm strong enough. I can stand on my own 2 feet. Um, it'll be fine, you know. Not saying that that's what I want to happen, but if it does, oh well. So yeah, that shadow work can be pretty rough if you do it right and you go really deep. It can really mess with you. That's why it's really nice to have, you know, people to talk to and friends that have your back when you need them. But and you know, and to be honest with y'all, there's some of these witches on here I just can't hardly stand to watch. I turn them off. And that's another thing I'm learning to do is keep my damn mouth shut. Because usually I'd be right there like, yeah. But you know what would that solve? It solves absolutely nothing because they're gonna have their own opinion. They're gonna still gonna do what they want to do. I will just try to steer my novices and my followers away from certain things because I just know that they're the wrong direction. I don't want to tell people, but then I want to protect them at the same time, if that makes any sense. So, I mean, I don't want any of my followers to be led wrong, you know. So, hey Zach, how are you? We're just chatting here now. What are you up to? What was that for, Angie? Oh Lord, what? What'd I do? Oh, I'm keeping my mouth shut? What are you talking about, woman? About what? Keeping my mouth shut? Don't you think that's would be a good thing for me sometimes? You know me. Yeah, I do need to keep my mouth shut sometimes, y'all. I really do. I get fired up. I worked myself up in a tizzy the other night, and I got on here and put a video up because I was so upset that about something that this one group did to a friend of mine. And the longer I thought about it, the madder I got. And man, I looked at that the next day and I was like, I got to take that down. I don't want everybody seeing that and thinking I'm, you know, the wicked witch of the West. Pakistan. Wow. Are you spiritual? Are you a witch? Do you work with dragons? Anything like that? Shelly, thank you. I really try to be. I try to be a good person. Sometimes people just won't let you be a good person, and they'll keep poking and poking until they poke the wrong nerve, and then I don't know. So, anything new in your crafts? Do y'all, Shelly, how'd your copper triangle thing work out? That we talked about quite a while back? Where was the dragon at? Inside the triangle? Well, oh, yeah, about Dan. Yeah, I know it. Oh, okay. So where was the dragon? I mean, was it in the mirror or did it appear behind you, beside you? Is this the mirror that we talked about enchanting? Oh yeah, I won't on that. He knows that shit right there ain't gonna fly over. Um, I've warned him and tried to be sweet about it, and it ain't working. So now, it's just kind of like the way it's been here lately. We just kind of live together. Um, we've always got along well together as far as living together. Orietta familiar from Hecate because I've been asking her for. That's one thing that I don't hear most of Hecate's followers talk about. Um, in the olden days, they would call down her dragons. You don't even hear anybody talk about her dragons anymore. And the whole secret to being able to call on her was knowing those dragons' names. I'll have to find that story too. I'm gonna write me a note right now. You do not hear all these I mean, it's okay to learn. Don't get me wrong. I'm not bashing any teachers by no means, but um, it's just like anything else. Any teacher is going to teach you how she understands it, and or how she or he believes. Um, on the top left side. So whenever you did your flash, it appeared like that. Okay. Had you been talking to Hecate? I mean, or doing anything with her that night? Or did you pray to her or meditate with her before you did this? I'm gonna look that up just so I'll know. I know I can tell you what I remember of it, but I want it to be exactly correct, and so I'm not gonna. Plus, that'll give me another topic to talk about on my videos. That's pretty awesome, Shelley. Awesome. Yeah, I usually light up her altar. It's going now. I have it lit every night. Most of the time anyway, 95% of the time. Unless I'm not here, I'm working or something like that. But I usually light it up and invite her. Like I said, I had a really and I've learned how to meditate. I know at the first part of my videos I said that I don't meditate, which I didn't, but that I was going to work on it. I don't think I'm at where most people are with it, but it last night whenever I did, and I always sit at her altar when I do it. So the energy is awesome. I just like it's kind of like laying in the sun to me. Okay, I have to debunk something, Shelley. I'm so sorry. And I know I'm not going to mention the name, but I know where you're getting that sigil above your head thing. That's not true. And just because you don't have that certain sigil, um, it's all that honestly is a reflection of that camera snapping in that mirror. That you can try this. You can take the picture, like hold it out like this from you in the mirror itself without you even being in there, and that same exact light and form that you see is going to be in that mirror. It's not true. That's one of those things I was talking about. Some of these witches say that are bullshit. I mean, it's fun to play around with, and look at and see what you can get. But I guarantee you, if you got a different phone, it would be a different sigil, per se sigil. It'd be a different pattern above your head. Because yeah, don't and she has a lot of people thinking that. And from what I've noticed, when I did watch that a lot of her followers are very young. In fact, I think one of them mentioned in one of the chats one time that she was like 13. And that's what I'm saying. Oh, I just hate, I don't want to call anybody a liar, but the gimmick is ridiculous. You know, she got everybody thinking that, well, they can't follow Hecate because they don't have that sigil. That is so not true. Yeah, don't worry about that. Now, I'm not saying for 1 minute that you can't snap a picture and catch a ghost or I have a couple on my phone that you can look at them and I just know they're Hecate. I took one last night and you can see her very plainly, the head and the crown, everything. Now, I know that's true, but as far as the light above your head, if you get a different phone, if she got a different phone, she wouldn't have that same light. I guarantee it. So don't worry about it. I mean, you don't have to go over there, and get in the group discussion and say, well, Lady Adara said this is all bullshit. Get me and her in a fight, an internet war. Not that I would care. I'd tell her straight to her face she's a damn liar. And I'm trying to keep my mouth shut. But I am not going to let any of the people on my channel believe that shit because that's what it is, purity shit. The ghost radio, that's shit too. Nope. It's just a hype. And it's fun. And maybe once in 5 quadrillion voices that come through there, you might actually have one that's actually meaning to talk to you, and that's real, but probably not. Now, if you had a real radio, like one of them old timey radios where you can turn the knob, or any stereo that you can turn the knob and put it on static, and you turn it down, kind of low at first. If you have something live going on like that, it's a very good possibility that a spirit might be able to latch on to some of those frequencies, some of that energy. But no, on a phone like this, it's an app you buy. Every once in a while, it'll pull out something out of a couple of words. If you'll notice, that's why they say one word at a time. Maybe sometimes it'll say 2, you know. But on an actual radio where you have transmission coming in, there's no transmission coming into this because it's an app. I can turn that on without my internet on, without my data on. If anything, one could come through your computer. There's a lot of power coming through a computer. They could latch on to something like that. But yes, those 2 things that she dwells on all the time, no. No. And then and the other thing, since she's always talking about, I'm of the primal craft. Who isn't? They act like that's something new. The primal craft, all that means is basic instinct, your basic knowledge. You go back to the basics of witchcraft. That's all that means. Everybody, that studies any kind of that's an old witch is probably primal. You see, I mean, I don't know. She's a little bit shoddy to me. Hi, NM Personal Training. How are you? We're just sitting here chatting. Thank you, Angie. You are too. I'm pretty good. Just chatting up here a little bit. Yeah. See, stuff like that happens at my house too, Shelly. And my old man is like, I'll say, "Did you not see that? Did you not hear that?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "And now you don't believe me?" He's like, "Oh, it was blah, 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 or blah, blah, blah." And he'll just give me this look. I'm like, "Whatever." But I know that there's a spirit living in my closet now. Even my cats know it. They've never been so interested in my closet before they have in the last week. But it doesn't bother me. Now, when I'm laying there in bed at night, sometimes I can hear something walking around in my living room. Yeah, I know. Now, I gotta be honest, there's sometimes that I'm jumpy anyway. I'm a really jumpy person. And there's sometimes that they startle me. Um, like one time, you have to see my cat Lexi, my little black one. She is my baby. And I mean, she is glued to me. I can't go anywhere without her right there. If I shut a door between me and her, she will literally sit on the other side of that door and cry, and she'll claw and claw and claw until I open that door. Well, usually I'll let her in the bathroom with me, or she won't let me take a peaceful bath or a shower. I have to get out and let her in. So I just go ahead and let her in. But this time I said, nope, you're staying outside. I'm going to take my shower. And anyway, you know how you can get kind of spooked in the shower anyway, or I'll sit there and think up crap till I spook myself. But I heard this scratching and something popping on the door, like trying to open the door, almost like the doorknob was wiggling. And so I peeked out of the shower to look, and then I didn't hear or see anything. And then it kept doing it and kept doing it, and finally I was like, Lexi, quit it. And, I got out and opened that door and nothing was there. Grabbed my towel. She was laying in here in front of my little fireplace on her bed, asleep. So just little stuff like that. It kind of makes my hair stand up, and it's not what I get afraid of is that it's not a spirit, it's an actual something in my house trying to rob me, a actual person. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah? Have you consecrated them? Have you, blessed them and put them just to see maybe if well, I guess you'd know if it was a bad spirit by now, wouldn't you? Or bad spirits, 2 little girls? Yeah, a lot of times I think well, anytime that you, walk with Hecate, she has an entourage with her most of the time. There's always something following her around. Um, I think a lot of times some of them would rather remain. I don't think she'd let them though if they meant harm. She wouldn't allow them to stay. Yeah. Yeah, Angie Lexi's a mess, man. She's my little girl, that's for sure. I guess she's in there sleeping. She's content now. She knows where I'm at. But I'm so glad y'all came on here and talked to me tonight. Are you gone personal training? I think some of these people get on here and they don't realize that we're witches and they find out and they're like, ooh, I'm getting off here. Witches are cool, man. Most of us anyway. Yeah, she would. She wouldn't allow that. But yeah, Shelly, I'm not telling you what to do, sweetheart. Don't get me wrong, but if I were you, I'd stop listening to her. She's in it. She's in it. I think she, and it may be she may actually believe it. I mean, I don't know, but I think, and it's free enterprise. I think she's trying to drum up business and get followers, which I guess we all are. But I'm not gonna sit around and just make shit up to get somebody to watch my channel. I mean, you do what you want. I'm not telling you that you have to do that. I'm just saying you can still watch her. I just wouldn't take hardly anything she says with a grain of salt. But I mean, I just completely got out of her channel. I have a lot of witches that I watch, but I know, pretty much after the first couple of times I watch them, whether they're my type of witches or not. Let's just put it that way. I'm not going to say that they're not witches, the ones I don't like, just because I don't care for them. They may be, but they have a lot of stuff wrong if they are. And I just don't like people, telling other people that and then them believing it. That's not a teacher. That's leading people astray. And of course, every witch will have their own opinion about everything different. That's not what I'm talking about. We're all different in that manner. But like I said, when you just out and out drum up stuff, you know, I don't know. I don't know. But you can sure ask me. I mean, I'll tell you straight up, you know. And if for some reason I happen to be wrong about something, I'll admit it. Yeah. Here lately, I'm telling you, for the last year and a half, things have been going like it's been like just tornadoes everywhere, in my house. But now that certain things have calmed down, then I'm hearing um, a lot more stuff, you know, and not necessarily them talking to me, talking to each other, like whispering. Some people will call it white noise. Um, I'm glad I'm sane, and I know that it's not just in my head. Say, well, she's finally flipped out. Who knows? Never know. What's the coolest, Angie? Angie, Angie, Angie. Y'all, I've been on here almost an hour and a half. Yeah, I don't when they start all that and it seems like they're talking so fast. When they start all that, I just have to get up and do something else, something that I don't hear it. Because if I distract my attention towards something else, vacuum, you know, or something like that, then I'll just because it makes me nervous that I can't understand what they're saying. I feel jittery, you know what I'm saying? Not scared. I just feel edgy. It makes me anxious. And I have gotten mad when they kept me up or woke me up and, when I was sleeping and I got out of my bed and stood in the middle of my living room and screamed at them. Shut up right now or you'll all leave. And I didn't hear nothing else the rest of the night, I'm telling you. They're like, damn, I didn't know she was like that. Oh my God, these new neighbors, Angie, they're about to drive me crazy. God, it is almost 1 o'clock in the morning and they're still in that damn backyard, whatever they're doing, making all kinds of fucking noise. Shit. Up until just about 30 minutes ago, all the kids were still up screaming out there. I can't deal with that. It don't happen every night though, or I'd be doing a spell to get rid of them, I guarantee it. Well, I guess I should probably get off here, guys. I don't want to, but I've been on here an hour and a half. Shelly, you're funny too. Oh. I figured Kat would be on here too. She's been having a hard time lately, so I posted it in our Facebook group. Yeah, Shelly, don't forget to send a request to the Witches United. Oh yeah. Well, I don't know about great information, but thank you. We've chatted more than anything, but that's fine. I like that. I'll try to get on here every evening, especially when Dan's not here. I'll have more privacy, and which it don't matter. I've done I don't know how many with him sitting in there watching TV. So, but yeah, I guess I'll go, and I will. I'll probably come on here again tomorrow night. What is tomorrow night? Saturday. Yeah. I'll announce it in the group. I guess y'all know that if you hit that little bell button, that they will notify you when I come on. It'll automatically tell you when I'm on live. Which when I'm on here, I'm always on live. So. Yeah, Shelly, send a request over to the Witches United on Facebook, and I'll get you in there, okay? Angie's already on there. But thank y'all. I love y'all. And good night. Angie, call me. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.